It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome back inside the lab to your source for fantasy hockey news and daily degenerate gambling breakdowns, the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Today, we're serving up the top overachieving forwards, studs on D, and of course in the crease, in the fantasy realm that are already over-exceeding our expectations early on in this season, and breaking down some of the top news from around the NHL. Thank you for joining us. Let's get this paper.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to your show, the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Joined today just solo, your boy Big Flip Livingstone. I'll spit out these words, I promise, everybody. Steele is on the IR today. We'll be back on Monday for a juicy waiver wire Monday special. But thank you for so much for making us your first listen every single day. We couldn't do it without y'all. And I'm so happy that the NHL season is back in full swing. And that means we're back in full swing on this show Monday through Friday, hopefully breaking down everything that you need to know to make your fantasy team a little bit better each and every week, including we got our big time bets, baby. And there's only 2 games on Friday's board, but I got a couple of good angles. The boy's been hot to kick off the year. I've been rolling with the bets. I hope you've been tailing along on X, Twitter, however you call it, because we've been trying to put a little bit of money in that pocketbook as well. That's part of what we do every single day on this show. Before I get to my top overachieving, exceeding success fantasy studs, these players that are already exceeding our expectations early on in the NHL season that you've got to keep your eyes glued to, I got to break down a little bit of the news from around the NHL just very quickly to keep you guys in the loop, and I'll wrap up the show with a very, very short Big Time Bets episode. The NHL news reel is firing. Steven Stamkos returns after a 2-game hiatus, but more importantly, Andrei Vasilevskiy on track to be returning at the end of November, potentially December. So if you have him stashed, if you have Jonas Johansson as the guy that's been getting it done for you, I think he's 1-1-1 so far. The numbers aren't exactly jumping off the page, but he's been serviceable. The Tampa Bay Lightning are hanging tough in that Atlantic division. But take a look at what the Ottawa Senators and Detroit Red Wings are already doing. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Red Wings in a bit. And these Tampa Bay Lightning need to buckle up. But I just wanted to mention Stammer is back. Vasilevskiy on track after his surgery to be returning right around the window that they mentioned at the beginning of his injury. End of November, start of December. This is a significant one for this goaltender. And we'll have to see how he does once he bounces back. If he bounces back, I think he will. We're safe on that one. Other news, Jets, Gabe Vilardi, he's out 4 to 6 weeks. I believe it's an MCL, strained MCL, sustained it in the 5-1 loss against Zona the other night, or the LA Kings, sorry. He took a bit of a hit from his former teammate there, and Blake Lizotte went down a little awkwardly. He's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. This was one of the names on the Jets team that we had our eyes peeled on to see if he could make the most of the changing of the guard in Winnipeg and really take the reins. So far, obviously disappointing. And again, the injury is not something you can predict, but this really takes the wind out of any kind of consistent start that we were looking from Gabe Vilardi. We'll see what happens. Maybe this 4 to 6 weeks, maybe he can cut that in half and get a bit of his, legs under him and confidence playing in that top 6 and that top 9 in Winnipeg, because I really did like the addition, and he was great in junior for the Windsor Spitfires. I think he has got a lot going on for him when he stays in the lineup, and that's something in his young career he's had a little bit of trouble doing. A guy who hasn't had trouble sticking in the lineup is a big bruiser, number 2 on the blue line for the Nashville Predators, and Luke Schenn. 4 to 6 weeks for Luke Schenn. Lower body injury. He was logging around, 15, 16 minutes of ice time in his last game before leaving. He is a physical presence. Luke Schenn, I'm going to bring up his numbers here in one sec, has been right around the league leaders in hits year in and year out. And I know he's not bringing you those offensive category values, but he is a valuable fantasy piece, especially even just with that grit grinder Banger League Beauty Angle. And when I bring up these hits numbers, let's just dive into this very quickly. The man just throws the body around. Over 300 hits, 270 plus hits, 280 plus hits over the last number of years for Tampa, Vancouver, Toronto for a short stint, now Nashville. A lot of GMs out there probably would have had Luke Schenn. I don't know if he's worth stashing him on the IR. This would really depend on your breakdown in your league. It would depend to me also on what else you have going on your blue line, because if you do have a number of pieces, Luke Schenn might be a drop for me, and maybe you look to pick him back up, because 4 to 6 weeks I don't think is worth eating up an IR slot when you could have others that might be more worthy of that spot, including Victor Arvidsson, who's now out. Some of these other pieces, if you have Vasilevskiy, you're not swapping him out for Luke Schenn, obviously. So in terms of what you do with him fantasy-wise, I might be looking at dropping Luke Schenn and hoping to pick him back up later. What I want to pick up right away, before I get to big-time bets at the end of the episode, by the way, shout out to all of the listeners, watchers, supporters in the DMs, on Instagram, in the emails. We wouldn't be doing this without you guys, and I really, really hope that we're making your teams a little bit better each and every week, like I said off the top of the show, because that's what we're here for. So make sure you smash that subscribe button, drop us a 5-star review on Spotify, Apple, and wherever you find your favorite and hottest content. Let me get to my players already exceeding expectations. Most of these players had relatively high expectations for the most part. Some not as high as others, but for the most part, these names we are expecting good fantasy seasons from. I'm going to talk about a goaltender who maybe we weren't expecting to have a good season from, and he's definitely exceeding expectations. But let me show a little bit of love to Joel Eriksson Ek. 3 goals, 1 assist, 16 minutes in penalties, 8 shots on net, a game-winning goal, almost 18 minutes in ice time per night to go along with also 11 hits. He's got 3 power play goals. In terms of fantasy, overachieving, exceeding expectations, this guy is right there at the top of my list. I know my boy Steele would be here to back me up on this Minnesota Wild love. The Minnesota Wild, though, are in a really tricky situation, in my opinion. I've told Steele about this at length. I know they're 2-1 to start the year. They're going to be fighting for one of those top 3 spots. But Matt Boldy being out, I'm worried a little bit about this team's offense so far through 3 games. 11 goals scored. Pretty good for this team. But all of this weight now shifts to some of these guys like Joel Eriksson Ek, who in his career, he's been solid looking back at his numbers. 61 points a year ago, 50 points the year before that, but he hasn't had to carry the load. And now in his year 27, he's 27 years old. He is going to be one of those leaders in there. And with Matt Boldy out, not as much offensive love to spread around. So I really want to see what happens with Joel Eriksson Ek and the Minnesota Wild over the next couple of weeks, because so far, those numbers are lighting up the categories, and if you've had him on your team over the first week and a half, he's one of those players that's probably put you in real good position to win these first couple of weeks. And let's see what he can do. 4th in Selke voting a few years back, 7 2 years ago, and 9th. That's top 10 in Selke 3 years running. You got to pay attention to these kinds of players who can get it done at both ends of the ice. He's elite, and he fills out the categories. We got a few more of those players that do just that, including a couple of goaltenders that are already surpassing my expectations. And we're, of course, going to talk about my big time bets, not Steele's, just mine, mini 2-game board. But I got to talk to you about our friends from Jace Medical, because today's episode is brought to you by Jace Medical. There are a lot of crazy things happening around the world right now, people, and you never know when you could have that peace of mind where traveling, emergency preparedness in a natural disaster, or instances where you can't get to your pharmacy or doctor. It's happened to me while I've been on vacation in Costa Rica. You never know when you're going to need those medicines that help you stay healthy. Unrest in the Middle East right now, fires in Hawaii, hurricanes and tornadoes across North America. You never know when you're going to have the supply chain shortages for medications or the inability to get the meds that you need in a timely manner. Jace Medical now offers the customizability for the Jace case with dozens of add-on medications. Choose the medications that best fit you and your family's unique needs. The Jace case provides 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use, and get ongoing care from their physicians at any treatment-related questions. Doctor created, doctor recommended. You got to be checking out the Jace case today. It is a lifesaver. Checked out. JaceMedical.com and enter code Locked On at checkout for a $20 discount on your order. That's promo code Locked On at JaceMedical.com.
What's up, guys? Trey Matthews of Locked On Devils here, and let me tell you something about Discover. If you like using your debit over credit, I just learned about something that's definitely a game changer. Discover Cashback Debit. It's a checking account that rewards everyone with cashback on everyday purchases. That means you can get cashback on NHL tickets or head-to-toe hockey gear to make this season a total win. Check out eligibility and terms at discover.com/cashbackdebit. Discover Bank, member FDIC.
Guys, I'm trying to run these ones and twos without Steele because there is a second ad read right now, because today's episode is also brought to you by our friends at Bird Dogs. You know, we're loving these Bird Dogs this summer, people. Bird Dogs, you can never take them off. We love them so much. They're comfortable. They fit just right from the clubhouse to the course. You want to be rocking your Bird Dogs. The stretch khaki shorts are designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and leg, giving you a truly sculpted look. The shorts do the exact same thing as Lululemon, but they fit way better. Go to birddogs.com/lockedon and or enter promo code LOCKEDONNHL at checkout for a free Bird Dogs water bottle with your order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL for a free water bottle at checkout. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off, we promise you. Holy people, we're back. I really wanted to hit you with all of the fantasy news that you guys need. Aside from all the updates, aside from these overachievers, this is what we're doing every single day to try and give you that little bit of extra oomph in what you're bringing to your fantasy squad. That extra oomph has been brought by these players. Adin Hill, exceeding my expectations big time already. 3-0. 1.31 goals against and a .951 save percentage. This guy, before taking the Stanley Cup, taking the Vegas Golden Knights to the Stanley Cup and playing great in the postseason. Let me bring up his postseason numbers last year. 11-4 with a 2.17 goals against and a .932 save percentage and 2 shutouts. This guy has really started to earn his money of $4.9 million a year and looking like a real steal out there. My goodness. Props to this guy, Adin Hill, 6'6" lefty goaltender out of BC. So much to like about his game. And so far, living up to the expectations that come along with getting paid, winning a Stanley Cup, taking that number one, spot in the blue paint in Vegas in front of or behind a really good team that's also just blown the doors off the league to start the season. So props due to maybe that entire Vegas team could be exceeding expectations already early on. But this is the thing that you have to keep your eye on because of such a small sample size with Adin Hill. Yeah, he's overachieving. Yeah, he's exceeding expectations right now for sure. But the small sample size that's come with a goalie that has only before that had about, I think he had here, let's see, between San Jose and Arizona, just over 74 games of NHL action regular season. Got to keep your eyes peeled for these spots that these guys might be overachieving. I think Adin Hill is in a situation, a really good one to continue to win, and I like the longevity angle here. But remember, and maybe remember it with a couple of these guys at the end of my list, that they might be overachieving now, and this is a very, very long season. So don't fall in love too much with some of these pieces per se. Adin Hill wouldn't be one of them, though, and I don't think Alex DeBrincat is one of them either. I think this kid is for real. A lot of us predicted that going to Detroit, playing along with Dylan Larkin, playing in a really good young mix in the top forward group in Detroit, a better team all around, improved on the blue line as well. Lots of new bodies, lots of new faces in the mix in Detroit. The Red Wings are off to a really good start. I think they're 3-1 as I'm recording this right now. Alex DeBrincat, 3 goals on the power play. 2 assists, 13 shots on net, 2 blocks, 2 hits. This and 8 points. Alex DeBrincat is already exceeding expectations, but perhaps the most important angle with this take is the chemistry that he's starting to form with Dylan Larkin. This line with Raymond, Larkin, and DeBrincat, my goodness me, they're looking really, really good, and they're looking really comfortable together. They're almost looking like they've been playing together for multiple years, and it's been 4 games. Yes, again, am I expecting him to stay on this kind of pace? No, but we know this guy has 40-goal potential all day. And I think you're going to see him touch that number this year with relative ease. And you've got to be keeping your eyes peeled. If for some reason this is a player that you might be able to pry off another GM for a good trade and you need a little bit of offensive punch in your lineup, I'd be targeting Alex DeBrincat. It's just right now it's going to be you're going to have to buy so high with this player that maybe you wait. I just think he's on pace already. Well, he is on pace, it's not I think, but I think he is set up for a monster season. If Ville Husso can do his thing with support from James Reimer in that cage, I think Alex DeBrincat is set up with all the support on the back end, with the balanced bottom six in Detroit and what they brought in to support him up in the top six. This is going to be a really special season for the former Erie Otter sniper. Let's see what happens. I think he's touching 40, 45 goals, already exceeding expectations. How about Brady Shea? 1 goal, 5 assists, 9 shots on net, a couple of PIMs, +6, 8 block shots. He's holding it down in the mix in the top 4 in Carolina. Let me bring up those lines just one more time because, of course, I don't know why I don't have it. I miss Steele real bad right now. This is a group that he is holding down power play time. He's playing on the second unit with Brett Pesce. This is a loaded back-end group. He was also getting looks for a moment there. He was getting a couple of rushes on the top power play at the start of the season. I know he's not on that second power play unit currently, but he was getting some looks there. No one's really talking about him, and to me, he's definitely exceeding expectations and overachieving. A less sexy name for sure, but one nonetheless that I really wanted to come on here and mention. I got one more name that I'll mention right after the break. Overachievers, players that have really blown expectations out of the water so far. And this is a name that you might not expect and one that I don't think Steele would love. And then right after the break, I'll be coming back with a little mini 2-game board big-time betting episode. But today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Make sure you're checking out the Sleeper app for all of your daily fantasy hockey needs. And you can also play daily fantasy on the NFL, NBA, MLB, and college football. Anytime your favorite player scores a hat trick, your favorite team even wins the Stanley Cup, you can win 100 times your money and play daily fantasy on the Sleeper app. These are all possible scenarios for this season, but to have a chance at winning, you need to play daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper. As the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network, Sleeper is our top choice for daily fantasy sports, especially daily fantasy hockey, which you know we're loving. With Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. With studs like McDavid, Ovi, Crosby, and Makar, all you need to do is pick more or less on stats for these stars. Choose stats like goals, assists, saves, plus, minus, and more. Yeah, you heard me. All of our NHL fans out there, you can get 100 times payout on the Sleeper app, so start paying attention and getting your picks in so you could win big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's Locked On NHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details.
This fall, stream your favorites and discover more with Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus together. Watch the highly anticipated new season of Loki and see the ghost materialize in Haunted Mansion on Disney Plus. Catch more frights with The Boogeyman and American Horror Story Delicate on Hulu. And on ESPN Plus, get into the action with college football and NFL. All of these and more streaming now. Get the Disney Bundle with plans starting at $9.99 a month. Plans with ESPN Plus starting at $14.99 a month. Terms apply. See DisneyBundle.com for details.
Wee-hoo! Guys, holding it down here solo. Steele will be back Monday. Make sure you're checking us out for the waiver wire special. The weekends always bring so much injury, lineup shuffles, things that you're going to need to do to keep your team tip-top shape. Every single Monday, Steele and I will be breaking down all of our favorite waiver wire ads, maybe some players that you even need to get away from. We're going to have some guests coming up next week. Make sure you're tuned and tapped. Subscribe to the channel. Drop us a 5-star review. And thank you so much for making us your first listen every single day. We are a part of the Locked On Network, your team every single day. The team of this player that I'm about to talk about, it's one that I still don't buy into its overall success in the St. Louis Blues. 2 games in, 1-0-1. But, however, there is something we need to talk about because Jordan Binnington has been a very polarizing individual since entering the league. Winning a Stanley Cup, being a runner-up for the Calder, 10th in voting for the Hart, 5th in the Vezina in his first year in the NHL, lighting the league on fire. Then we start to buy into it. The follow-up year, 30, 13, and 7, 7th in Vezina voting. And then it's just gone basically straight off a cliff in terms of on-ice performance, off-ice bonehead decisions, on-ice bonehead decisions. This has been a player that I think Steele and I have talked a lot about as in the keeper dynasty side of things. A couple of seasons ago, you were feeling very comfortable that you had Jordan Binnington anchoring your blue paint, your goalie roster, if you will. Now, headed into this season at least, expectations, I think, for both the Blues and for Binnington were perhaps at an all-time low, and if not for his beast mode contract, they may have already given it to this Joel Hofer kid. Sooner than later, he's coming for that crease. By the way, double circle that name. Keeper dynasty side of things, Mr. Hofer is going to be a very, very interesting young name to keep your eye on. However, so far through the first 2 games, and I know it's 2 games, Binnington has looked sensational. 1 win, I know. 1 overtime loss, okay. 9.69 save percentage and an 0.92 goals against. That's all I need to say. That's all I need to say. Because he is for sure already exceeding expectations. 2 games, I get it. But if he can hold together even a scrape of this kind of Binnington, he is once again fantasy relevant. It's hard for me to say that because it is only 2 games. That's a big if. But if he can, because he's shown that he can do it in the NHL. He's only 30 years old. Not a ton of mileage on this body either. So let me have a look over the next couple of weeks now that I've put myself out there and said Jordan Binnington exceeding expectations and keep your eyes on him. I'm going to have to do the same to make sure that this take doesn't completely blow up in my face, which it's happened before, people, and thanks for holding me down. This is where I especially miss Steele. But big-time bets, Friday. 2 games. First of all, if you're not following along on Twitter, on X, and getting these free picks in every single night, you're slipping because your boy's been on a pretty solid heater to start the year. I'm recording midway through Thursday's game, so I don't know how my bets for Thursdays are going. But headed into Thursday, 17-7 record, making some bank. So let's try and keep that rolling tonight, and I'm going to keep this breakdown short because there is only 2 games. Let's start. Let's start with this Calgary Flames game. The Calgary Flames head into Columbus. Let me just bring this up here. I looked at this very quickly as a situation where I wanted to bet on the Calgary Flames. There's a lot going on in the news with Columbus. There was already a lot of off-season noise with Mac Babcock's exit. They haven't exactly started awful. 1-2. Lost to Philly, then a nice 5-3 win against the Rangers. But then they just got absolutely dusted aside by the Red Wings 4-0. And I think the offense is what's going to get them here against the Calgary Flames team that can be very defensively stingy at times. And it looks like Dan Vladar is in net on Thursday night. So this is the second half of the back-to-back for the Flames group. But I like them even still. So give me the Flames on the money line. -156. They have points in 8 of their last 10 games against the Columbus Blue Jackets, including 7 victories. So I'm riding with that angle. So let's go with the Flames on the money line as my first pick. Bo Horvat. The New York Islanders are off to a good start, and Bo Horvat is not. Bo Horvat is one of the best all-around players and one of the most underrated over the last few years. Yeah, there was some off-ice issues in Vancouver, clubhouse issues, but I really don't think that had anything to do with Bo Horvat, who's been nothing but a professional and gets it done at both ends of the ice. He fills out the categories as well. Hits, PIMs, block shots, 70 points just a couple of seasons ago. 70 points, just a season ago, 38 goals. This slow start in 2 games, I think he comes out of it. I like the Bo Horvat anytime point. The odds are fluctuating. Like I said, 70 last year. He's going to pick up at some point, and I think he does it tonight against a good New Jersey Devils team, but one that likes to allow goals as well. Lock of the night. And this is a spicy one because you know how much I've been buying into what's going on in New Jersey for obvious reasons. Devils 1-1-1 to start the year. Islanders 2-0. Sorokin looking really nice. The New York Islanders hold a 7-3-0 record in their last 10 against these New Jersey Devils. And I'm riding with that angle. I'm also getting plus money right now for an Islanders team that has started nicely. The Devils, I know, are going to be there at the end of the year, but they're going through their growing pains as well. Timo Meier being benched the other night. Dawson Mercer hasn't exactly torn the page off yet. Give me the Islanders, plus 110 on the money line at home. I'm loving the home dog plus money. That's my lock of the night. Let's try and keep it rolling. Thank you so much for tuning in for the Friday episode of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, just with your boy, Big Flip Livingstone. Make sure you're checking out all the other Locked On channels, your team every single day, NHL, MLB, NFL, NBA, and of course, the NCAA, your team every single day on the Locked On Network. Thank you so much for joining me for the Friday episode. We'll see you Monday for a waiver wire special.
Buying tickets to see your favorite NHL team shouldn't be stressful. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time is the place for last-minute ticket deals. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get images of your seat before you buy so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. You can buy tickets in a matter of seconds, 2 taps, and you're set. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
JamesAllen.com is the online destination to easily design a customized engagement ring and save up to 50% compared to traditional stores. You pick a diamond, whether it's lab-created or earth-created. James Allen has over 200,000 conflict-free stones. Then you pick your ring setting and metal. And if you need some help, they have real-time diamond consultations available, where an expert can walk you through it all. Get 25% off your order at JamesAllen.com, code LOCKEDON. That's JamesAllen.com, code LOCKEDON.
The NHL season is here, and the best way to find all the insights and reactions for every team all season long is with Locked On NHL. Don't miss a second of the season. Available every day for 30 minutes on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.